Okay, welcome back to Upload TV, and thanks for joining us back at Clark's Golf Centre. And I've been looking forward to this, getting back, because we had great success with our video in terms of the Epic irons. And I say success in terms of it was a great viewing one for us. We got out there fairly early with it, which was a first for us. But it was the interaction in relation to the comments, and we carried it on in a Thursday night golf show. A lot of debate as to whether or not a 30-degree 7-iron was slightly cheating, I suppose. It's the wrong word to use, but I said I couldn't think of another one. But yeah, there's this kind of like debate going on as to whether or not my, for example, Mizuno MP5s lofted at 34 degrees, that's the 7-iron, against a 7-iron from the new Epic range would be 30 degrees. So arguably, the stronger loft would produce obviously the longer shots. But the interesting bit for me in the debate that we had was, yes, it was stronger lofted, but the launch angle was exactly the same as my 34-degree 7-iron. So it was this debate really as to whether or not basically did you want or need a longer 7-iron and longer every iron for that matter. And again, the debate carried on as to whether or not how many gap wedges you'd need in your bag if effectively your pitching wedge was going to be hitting out there sort of 150, 160 if everything sort of progressed as it should do. And on that note, I'm awaiting both a 4-iron and a pitching wedge from Callaway to carry out that exact test to see if that extra distance and the change in whether or not the launch angle remains consistent as well throughout the sort of top and lower end of the bag. But what I'm here for this morning is I'm going to look to test 3 very prominent irons from the last, well, recent releases, I suppose you'd call them. I've got the N2, which again, very strongly lofted. I think this one is 20.5 degrees 7-iron, so they've gone to the extremes there with that one. Did a review of this earlier on in the year, and again, the great big Bertha 7-iron once again from Callaway, and again was impressed with this, did a review of this again early part of the year. And really what I want to do, I'm going to hit some shots. I'm not going to bore you to death with watching me hit every shot on camera. I'll go away, I'm going to try, I'm sorry, of course, I forgot, the one that's in my hand is the Epic, and we're going to analyse some data here, and it's really looking at are the gains in this Epic club against these 2 very prominent I think decent comparisons really. These are all what you'd probably call in that game improver market, and what I want to see is the one big difference between all 3 of these is arguably the price tag. Is it justified? So what we're going to do is change camera positions as ever. We're going to hit some balls on test, and then I'm going to come back down and we'll have another chat and try and go through the data and work out just exactly what this Callaway Epic iron is or isn't doing. Right, end it there, let's move the camera. Okay, so we decided to bring the data back to the office, and I've just spent a little bit of time rather than just rush things in terms of looking at the SkyTrack information as and when it came along and try and feed that directly back to you. Like I said, I thought I'd get the numbers in front of me and compare the 3 sets of irons. But for me, really interesting morning. In terms of the testing itself, what I've ended up with is 5 shots from each of the clubs that I hit. And I think, to be perfectly honest with you and to put this into perspective, to get that, what I wanted to try and do was give you 5 shots that were similar from each of the clubs. So in terms of strike, in terms of how well I determined that I struck the ball. So I wanted similar strikes, 15 shots across the 3 clubs. And to do that, I thought I could have been there for hours because of depending on how well I turned up and decided to strike the ball this morning. And that's what you'll always get with the reviews from the average golfer, I'm afraid. But in all honesty, and I'm afraid you have to take my word for it, because other than you sit and watch me hit shot after shot after shot until I obtain this data, you're going to have to take my word for it. It took literally no more than, let's say I hit 10 shots with each club, and in some instances I didn't even do that. We obtained the data very, very quickly indeed. So what I'm telling you is there was a few shots that I pushed, there's a few shots that I pulled, and we've eliminated them from the equation, so that, like I said, I got the 5. But this hasn't took as long as I expected to get 5
really similar shots with each club. And I say that because what I expected was, there's been a lot of criticism in terms of dispersion, in terms of the distance carried with these types of clubs. I can honestly say that I haven't found that, and it's something that has changed. And I think that one thing I'm trying to get across, and again, don't take my word for it, the idea is go and have a go. A lot of comments are suggesting there's a lot of negativity towards these clubs, and I have a feeling it may be coming from the lower handicappers, and maybe these clubs are aimed at higher handicappers. They're still classed as the Game Improver Club. But the technology that's built in these are making life easy. There's no two ways about that. But I would say even to the low handicappers, and I'll play off 8 now, and I'd include that as being a low handicapper. I'm putting myself into this category where I say you really need to try these clubs before you jump to the conclusions and criticise the technology that's supposedly packed into these clubs. Because I've been quite surprised over the last, well, this morning, over last week with the Epic irons, and it's really thrown me into a bit of a debate in my own head in terms of what I think of the clubs I'm currently using and maybe what I should be using. I'm going to run through this very, very quickly because, like I said, otherwise this could go on for quite some time. I started off with the M2 iron. I reviewed this club a few months back. As with all tailor-made clubs, massive publicity around this club when it launched, and I've got to say that I was impressed with it. I was impressed with it in the initial review. It came out, I think this club again has got 28.5 degrees worth of loft on it, so extremely strongly lofted, and would come in for that regular criticism of they've cheated their way to the longer distances. Accepted, I can understand where that comes from. But again, just to go over the points I made earlier, the difference between loft and launch angle is the bit where the technology makes the changes within these clubs for me. And if you take the M2 as being a prime example, stronger lofted than anything we tested between the 3 clubs, so at 28.5 degrees, and yet the average launch angle was 21 degrees of launch. Yeah, so that again is very comparable to my Mizuno current MP5, which has got 34 degrees worth of loft, launch angle exactly the same. That's where for me the tech has changed things in these clubs. Now, if you look at the spin numbers, and again, I'd go back first of all, I don't produce great spin numbers. I hit a right to left shot, can often turn it over a little bit. I'm never going to produce great spin numbers with my 7-iron, so you've got to consider that when you look at these numbers. Really impressed with the M2 spin numbers in my game, and again, probably without, I haven't done the averages, but you're probably looking there around a sort of 3.6, 3.7 in terms of average spin across the 5 shots, so it would be deemed as not great for a 7-iron, but then like I said, you've got to put into perspective of what I would normally hit with my current 7-irons, and I wouldn't say that's too bad, certainly not what I was expecting it to be. Really maintained a good average club head speed of 85 miles an hour, and again, average distance 190 carry, just under 200, 197, 198 in total yardage overall. Extremely powerful and long 7-iron compared to my current clubs. So you then take the next club in the that we looked at was the big Bertha Os. Now again, this came out, I think this was late 2016. Again, I was more than happy with it in terms of when I tested it. This one for me was slightly different in terms that it didn't produce the same launch angle. Not, again, this is lofted at 30 degrees, probably average launch angle was around the 20 degrees of launch. You could tell with the ball flight visually that it was a flatter ball flight than what I was seeing in the Epic and the M2. And again, it's quite cumbersome big club head with a bit of weight in it, and I felt that had a detrimental effect on the club head speed that I generated. And again, averaging around 80 miles per hour club head speed, which was quite a lot lower than the M2 and the Epic for that matter. But again, yardages averaging out around 185 carry, and again, low spin numbers on this one, which you probably wouldn't deem acceptable. And again, looking through the numbers, maybe 2.8 on average spin if someone wants to go down these and add them up, but I would say around the 2.8 spin mark, so very low in terms of spin. And the ball rolled out considerably to sort of 197, 200, so you got your long distances, but it's because the ball quite literally wasn't stopping. But in terms of carry, it was very similar to that of the M2. And then you go to the Epic, and I left the place with a lot of question marks last week. I hit a lot of decent balls that I felt really good about. I love the ball flight, I love the launch angle, and again I wanted to see me reproduce that again today, and I did. And again, 22 degrees in terms of maybe 21 if you take the averages there, in terms of launch angle on these 5 shots, spinning around 3,500, very similar to what we got from the M2. And again, remember to compare that to my current spin rate on irons. Don't be hypercritical on the spin on this club based on what you might produce. And again, the distances, let's have a quick look through there. Probably again averaging 185 carry, which is what would have said that I did in the previous week. And again, balls rolling out around average 195. If you look at the last ball I hit, 84 mile an hour club head speed, 192 carry, 204 overall. Again, really impressive numbers in terms of distance, and then there's that debate that you will have as to whether or not the spin number is considerable enough for your game, whether you think it's just a ball that will not stop for you. But what I will say in assessment of these 3 clubs, and what I really wanted to derive from it all really, was that the technology packed into these latest clubs, and particularly the Epic and the M2, is working. Whether you like or not the strong launch angles, yet again, it's the strong lofts, it is producing impressive launch angles, and like I said, the spin number, I think, give them a go yourself and see how it turns up in terms of spin. You're then looking at individual characteristics that you like from a club. The big Bertha Os is too cumbersome for me in terms of its build and the size of it, the bulkiness, and I wouldn't consider it at all in my bag, I'm afraid, no matter what it did. The M2 I personally liked the finish, and again it was a smaller, more compact head than the big Bertha Os, but still quite cumbersome, so again I'd be borderline whether I could game that. But I keep going on, and I am very positive about these Callaway Epics, and I'm sticking by my guns, because again this was on the Epic, it wasn't the Epic Pro, but this again is what they seem to have done. It's the slimmest version of a game improver club that I've seen that produces massive help to all levels of golfers, I think. And unless you're at a level where you're looking to shape the ball left and right, it's a different ball flight with your iron shots, and that isn't me as an average golfer, and then this club ticks a lot of boxes, it really does. And I know there's question marks over the gapping at the lower end of the bag if we start to hit irons a long way, but it's a problem I wouldn't mind having, I think. And like I said, the M2 was mega impressive, but the Epic again came out on top for me, and I think they've got a real winner on their hands. We all know about the price, but let's put that to one side for the time being, because I really just want to concentrate on those numbers. I hope it helped. It helped me in my mind, and like I said, I left the place thinking, why am I making this game more difficult than it needs be with my Mizuno MP5s? And I've really got a dilemma at the moment as to whether or not I won't be buying a Callaway Epics purely because of the price, but I do question, is this a route forward for somebody of my type of handicap, and try and make this game a little bit easier than it is. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. It was a little bit different in the end product than the discussion that we had here. It was all about, like I said, trying to spend some time in analysing these figures and seeing what they actually read when you put them all together. So hope you enjoyed that one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you very soon on Untitled TV, because the next debate will be the Callaway Epic Hybrid is about to land any day, and God only knows how far that thing's going to go. Right, see you soon. Bye.